Will the House come to order, Mr. Clerk?
Aloha and good afternoon. Today's invocation will be delivered by Representative Sean Quinlan. Will the members who wish to participate please rise?
Please be seated. Nicole is sick today, so I'm giving her invocation, and she asked me to keep it short.
Thank you, Representative Quinlan, or Representative Lowen. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Ayu, Mr. Alcos, Ms. Amato,
Excused.
Ms. Bellotti, Mr. Chun, Ms. Cochran, Mr. Evslin, Mr. Ganadin, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Gates,
Excused.
Mr. Hashem, Mr. Holt, Ms. Hussey Burdick, Ms. Ichiyama, Mr. Iligan, Ms. Kahaloa, Ms. Capella, Mr. Kila, Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Kobayashi, Mr. Kong, Ms. Lachika, Ms. Lamosao, Ms. Lowen,
Excused.
Ms. Martin, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. Miyake, Ms. Mizuno, Ms. Morikawa, Ms. Nakamura, Mr. Nakashima, Mr. Nishimoto, Mr. Onishi, Ms. Peruso, Mr. Pirik, Ms. Poe, Mr. Quinlan, Mr. Sayama, Ms. Souza, Mr. Takayama, Ms. Takenouchi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Mr. Todd,
Excused.
Mr. Ward, Mr. Woodson,
Excused.
Mr. Yamashita, Mr. Speaker.
Present.
Mr. Speaker, 46 members are present, 5 are excused.
Item 2, reading of the journal, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. We're on item 3, Mr. Clerk. Are there any messages from the governor?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
Item 4, Mr. Clerk. Are there any Senate communications?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
All right, members, are there any introductions? Representative Iligan.
Mr. Speaker, today I want to introduce to you Eric Tanoy, if you can rise. He is here to speak at the Hawaii Island Caucus, a resident of Keau and Puna. Eric is the owner of Greenpoint Nursery. He is entering into his 3rd generation in floriculture. The company was started with him, his father, and his sister, and now his 3 sons have joined the family business. Eric is also the president of Hawaii Floriculture and Nursery Association and the Surgistic Hawaii Agriculture Council. Welcome to your House of Representatives.
Representative Pirik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today, we have Don O'Brien and Spencer Bronson. Please rise. Thank you both so much for coming to your House of Representatives.
Are there further introductions? If not, members, could we take a recess subject to the call of the chair? Recess. Great. Will the House come to order? Members, we're on item 5. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report numbers 228-24 through 266-24 as listed on pages 1 through 11, and that the accompanying House bills as may be amended pass second reading and be referred to their designated committees.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Members, is there any discussion beginning with SCR 228 on page 1? Okay, next page 229, 230, 231, 232. Next page 233, 234, 235. Representative Ward.
Speaker, no vote on 235, please. Mr.
So
Speaker,
ordered.
these are loans for people who are in desperate condition of economic hardship. The interest rate is now fixed at 6%. Mr. Speaker, some of you don't know that I used to work for the United Nations and the World Bank, and anything that's 6% is really a gouging rate. We would give basically away free money 1 to 2%, which means the hardship is the issue, not the repayment. In fact, many of these things are grants. The point is 6% is almost at market value. Are we helping these people as the market value? Are we a private bank that can do market rates? I don't think so. Because of those reasons, I don't think we're being sympathetic enough with those people who need the money and they don't need it at market rates. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, a no vote.
Is there further discussion on 235? Representative Garcia.
No vote.
So ordered. Okay, next page 236, 237, 238, 239. Next, Representative Perrick
No vote.
on 239. So ordered. Further discussion? If not, Representative Ward.
Speaker, when the appropriate time is, can we go back to 236, please?
Okay, let's go on 236 now. Representative Ward.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to thank the governor for respect.
Support or opposition?
Strong support.
Please proceed.
With thanks to the governor for respecting the Small Business Regulatory Board. Some of us went to the White House in 1993 when there was a national phenomenon to put regulatory boards together for small business, because there were legislation that was being passed that they never knew until it was already in effect. So this basically is a review board, but you know, Mr. Speaker, how we've treated it? We've created it in the 90s, but you know, when have we ever funded it? We haven't funded it yet. This is the first time we respected it. And I want to thank the governor for, hopefully this is the first step in the direction to make sure small business, which is the most creative, innovative job creation in the state of Hawaii, that it be given its due course. And there's 25 to 30,000 of these. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay, is there further discussion on 236? If not, next page 240, 241, 242, 243. Next page 244, 245, 246. Representative Perrick,
In support,
please proceed.
this bill enacts the Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact to reduce barriers to teacher license portability and employment. This is a good bill helping more teachers in Hawaii.
Okay, 247.
Mr. Speaker,
Representative Prusso.
on 245.
245,
Oh, sorry, 246.
246, please proceed.
With reservations.
Okay, so ordered. Further discussion on 246? If not, 247. Next page 248, 249, 250. Representative Ward.
Speaker, I think we are doing a great deal of
Support or opposition?
support, strong
Please-
support.
Please proceed.
And I just wanted to say that as the shaka has become popular, you can see people who have never been to Hawaii are using the shaka. So I think it puts our brand, our identity intact. I just want to make sure that Lipia Spinda, who owned the service station at Kalakaua and Kapiolani, is mentioned. I didn't have a chance to read the bill, but Lipia Spinda is the one who really started doing the shaka on television. So if he's not in it, at least it's in the records in the Journal of the State House of Representatives. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay, is there further discussion? If not, 251. Next page 252, 253, 254, 255. Next page 256. Representative Perrick.
With reservations.
So ordered. Representative Garcia.
Same request.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, 257. Representative Garcia.
No vote.
So ordered. 258. 259. Representative Ward,
Speaker, 258,
please proceed.
a no vote, Mr. Speaker.
So ordered.
This bill is kind of unimaginable. It says if you get a DOI, you cannot go to Safeway and buy beer. You cannot go to a bar and buy something because on your license it says DUI. I mean, do we want to shame people? I mean, if people get a drug or what do you call it, a sexual predator position, do we put it on their driver's license? I understand that this bill puts it on the driver's license. But the irony of all this, if you put all what I just said aside, is that we're going to punish the guys who drink and drive, but hey, if you get drunk, if you get drugged with marijuana or mushrooms, you are okay. Mr. Speaker, this body is speaking out of two sides of its mouth. And I know that bill hasn't come up, but it's going to come up. We're going to make it easier to do marijuana. Instead of $125, we're going to make it like $25. But Mr. Speaker, this is telling you guys who drink, we're going to deny you and we're going to expose you at Safeway and Long's and all these other places. But for you druggies, you hippies, or you guys who are in mushrooms and marijuana, you're okay. That is inconsistent, Mr. Speaker. I think this is putting a scarlet letter in place. It's putting a label on people's forehead, and it's embarrassing people who, I think the only place they can drink now is in their home. Or if they drink, they cannot, well, they can be a passenger. The point is, Mr. Speaker, this goes overboard. It's overreach. It's Big Brother going into your stomach and your brain and your social setting beyond of which we should be doing. That's extremism, Mr. Speaker. For those reasons, I vote no. Thank you.
Okay, is there further discussion? Representative Garcia.
Reservations.
So ordered. Okay, 259. Next page, 260. Representative Perrick.
No vote.
So ordered. Representative Garcia.
Same request.
So ordered. 261. Representative
On
Capella.
260,
260.
reservations.
So ordered. Further discussion on 260. Representative Peruso.
Same request.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, 261. 260. Representative Ward.
Mr. Speaker, I would vote tentatively against this because, as I said earlier, there's an inconsistency. We want to lower the blood alcohol content, but we don't want to do anything with the druggies and the mushrooms and the marijuana. How does this fit logically with this body's protection for the people outside? I just don't see it consistent. I know it's either Shakespeare or somebody who said, consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds. Well, I think it's small minds that will say, we're going to push you hard on your alcohol, but we're going to lighten up on your drug addiction, i.e. marijuana and other forms of hard drugs, some of which have been, as we know in Oregon, legalized, and they've regretted it. And here we're walking down the same path, rather naive and sort of whistling past the graveyard. Thank you.
Representative Quinlan.
In support, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed.
I really don't think it's fair or accurate to conflate people using marijuana, which is medically regulated as a drug for certain treatments and for certain conditions in this state. The only medical treatment that I know of for alcohol is if you have antifreeze poisoning.
Is there further discussion? If not, 262. 263. Next page, 264. Representative Souza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A request for a ruling on a potential conflict.
Please state your potential conflict.
My brother is an OHA trustee, and this particular bill also addresses OHA statewide races.
Okay, the chair's ruling is there's no conflict, and the ruling applies through Sanidai.
Thank you.
Further discussion? If not, 265.
Speaker,
Representative
264, sorry.
264, Representative Garcia.
No vote.
So ordered. Further discussion on 264. If not, 265. 266. Any of this? Representative Lamasal.
No vote.
So ordered. Representative Garcia.
No vote.
Representative
No vote.
Alcos. Okay, further discussion? Representative
Mr.
Ward.
Speaker, I referenced this bill earlier. I just want to finish what was maybe a partial thought. This lowers the offense.
You're in opposition, Representative Ward.
Yes, in opposition, strongly so, sir. This lowers the offense of marijuana from, I forget how many grams to you get 1 ounce, and from $125 it goes down to $25, which basically means it's already a parking ticket, and now we're going to make it less than a parking ticket. My question, Mr. Speaker, what's our logic on this? Lightening up on marijuana but pushing down on alcohol. Look, I thought if you're out of your mind whether it's one substance or the other, it's equally against the public safety for the people of Hawaii. So, Mr. Speaker, we're talking out of both sides of our mouth. We talk about we want to make it so easy, which is already so easy. Anybody can get marijuana anywhere, anytime, at any price. This is going to allow even the black market to even proliferate even more. So do we know what we do, Mr. Speaker? I'm looking at you, but I'm attacking all my colleagues. Do we really know what we're doing? We look at Colorado, we don't pay attention. We look at California, we don't pay attention. We look at Oregon, we don't pay attention. Hopefully Prosecutor Alm is going to bring this to the fore with Mayor Blangiardi and show the realities of what path we're taking down. Numbing and dumbing down the people of Hawaii, particularly our youth whose brains are not even in shape, and it's going to be a great thing like vaping, and everybody is going to go backwards in terms of their development and their human God-given potential. This is a bad, bad bill and very inconsistent, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
All right, is there further discussion? Representative Souza.
No vote, thank you.
So ordered. Representative Kong.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No vote.
So ordered. Representative Kila.
No vote, Mr. Speaker.
So ordered. Representative Matsumoto.
Same request.
So ordered. For this, Representative Matsuyoshi.
In opposition, Mr. Speaker, brief comment.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to basically decriminalize the possession of marijuana up to 1 ounce. As we've previously discussed, 1 ounce is a lot of marijuana. 1 ounce is about 50 to 60 joints. The problem that I have with this bill is the same problem that I had with the bill when we decriminalized up to 3 grams of marijuana. Now that it's up to 1 ounce, it really implies the intent to not just use, but to sell marijuana. And that's my concern, is that we are decriminalizing an amount that would make it easier for the illegal sale and distribution of marijuana. The $130 fine down to $25 is also making it a fairly de minimis amount. I think that makes it more of a slap on the wrist or just a kind of a transactional fine rather than something truly discouraging for people to use and sell marijuana. This bill raises the amount that you can carry on you from 3 grams up to 28, a little over 28 grams. That's about a 10-fold increase. Meanwhile, we're taking the fine from 130 down to 25, so we're decreasing it by 5 times. I honestly just think we're going in the wrong direction with this, and this would be almost a de facto legalization of marijuana bill. Thank you.
Representative Tarnas.
Thank you. In support.
Please proceed.
Thank you. This is a decriminalization bill, not a legalization bill. That's a separate bill, which we can address at that time. What this bill does is aligns our amount that we would decriminalize with most other states that have decriminalized cannabis. As you know, nearly half of the states in this country have legalized cannabis. What this does is it helps to destigmatize what is a drug that is not a hard drug. This is one that if we were to take a harm reduction approach to dealing with our substance abuse issues within the state, in fact, this is the best thing we can do, is to decriminalize cannabis. An ounce, if you go to a dispensary and you look up at the price board, they price it by an ounce. For those who might be unaccustomed to purchasing cannabis, they might seem like a lot, but it's not really a lot. It might be maybe a month's supply for somebody who is a regular user. And it's not necessarily only to smoke. You can use this to make baked goods so that you could take this as an edible. So I would just urge members to not really worry that this is going down a path that's going to cause some significant problems to our community. I think this is unfortunately, being caught with a small amount of cannabis, over 3 grams but less than an ounce, or with some apparatus that you use to consume cannabis, is unfortunately the first step to get people to enter into the the criminal justice system. And I think the drug war has failed, and it's time for us to change the way we're approaching what is really a drug that is not something that is causing all of our major problems. It's methamphetamine. It's crack. Those are the hard drugs. Fentanyl. It's not cannabis. So I urge members, take a deep breath, it's okay, and vote yes. Mahalo, Speaker.
All right, Representative Tornes, I know that you don't want to look at the chair, but please address the chair when giving full remarks.
Thank you. Apologies.
Thank you. Representative Chun.
Reservations.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Representative Matsumoto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Still in opposition, and if I can have the words from the representative from Maunawili put into the journal as if they're my own.
So ordered. Representative Pirik.
In opposition,
Please proceed.
I encourage the body to take a deep breath and vote no. This bill makes the Class B felony offense of delivering drug paraphernalia to persons under 18 years of age applicable to offenders who are at least 21 years old, exempts drug paraphernalia for marijuana from certain penalties under the Uniform Controlled Substance Act, makes the possession of less than 1 ounce of recreational marijuana a non-jailable violation punishable by a fine of $25, which was $3,000. This is decriminalizing something that should be punishable, so punishable that's hard. We should not have a city that's infested with drug dealers. We should punish drug dealers, and this would decrease the penalty of drug dealers. I vote no.
Representative Alcos.
Mr. Speaker, safety is one of our biggest
Are you in
things.
support or opposition?
I'm in opposition.
Please proceed.
Safety is one of the biggest things that we want to protect our kids with. But this is opening up a gateway for our youth to sell more drugs because it's only going to be $25. Well, they can make more money on the streets and take advantage of this bill. I feel that it's going the opposite way. I think that if you increase the bill, increase the fines, I would definitely vote on it. But people are dying out there, people getting shot. There's violence on our street. And I think marijuana, as the former representative said, that this is just marijuana. But it leads to many different things, and there's many people died from illegal drugs on the street. So I'm in opposition on this. Thank you.
So further discussion. Representative Ganadin.
Mr. Speaker, in support, I'd like to adopt the words of the Chair of Judiciary as if they were my own.
So ordered.
With brief comment.
Please proceed.
Representative from District 41 noted that he would like to see increased penalties. This has kind of been the norm in American politics for about 40 years. It led to many issues with regards to inappropriate policing, mass incarceration, and the inappropriate use of county and state funds. Furthermore, there's a nationwide and statewide hiring crisis. Many individuals have marijuana charges on their records. They can't seem to find jobs. For those reasons, I'm in support.
Representative Chico.
Mr. Speaker.
Representative Chico.
Mr. Speaker, in opposition, brief comment.
Please proceed.
Well, I do appreciate the author's intent to address unnecessary arrests as well as the inequity in our criminal justice system and bringing our Hawaii laws up to par with the rest of the nation. I do have concerns that, with the relaxation of these laws, we really need to have a discussion on strengthening instead how we address the illegal sale and distribution, as well as some of our prevention programs, for our youth on mental health, substance use. We really need to look at these issues that overall address community safety first before we look into this. Mahalo.
Representative Kobayashi.
In opposition.
Please proceed.
I'm concerned about the amount, 1 ounce, and the penalty, $25. Really, the last time I got a parking ticket, I think it was a $40 parking ticket. So I think those two things should be looked at. Thank you.
Representative Nishimoto.
No vote.
So ordered. Representative Kitagawa.
In opposition,
Please proceed.
and brief comment. So I'm in opposition to this bill. Unlike the legalization bill that we have been discussing, I think, and that's moving in the Senate, this bill has no safeguards. And although this is a decriminalization bill, as others have stated, up to 1 ounce is quite a bit of marijuana still. It can be 50 to 60 joints. And with that decreased amount, really there is nothing prohibiting or discouraging people from using marijuana. And I also am concerned because there are no safeguards. It's also, I'm concerned about what we're saying to our youth. We're looking at our vaping epidemic. We can't get that under control by saying that this up to an ounce is decriminalized, ultimately saying you're not going to get in trouble other than a $25 fee. What is prohibiting our youth from engaging in trying out marijuana? There's no consequence other than $25, which is really just a slap on the wrist. And I don't want this to become another epidemic for our youth. Medical marijuana is already available, so if you need it, you have access to it, and you can use that for whatever health benefits or health needs you might have. It is available to you. And I would just also like to just point out that even though people say the harms of marijuana use are not there, that it is not, will not lead to other types of harder drugs or, issues with your family or concerns or trauma or whatever that might be, generational issues. I have seen, experiences where marijuana use has led to harder drugs, has led to jail time, has broken up families, and so I don't want to see us going down that pathway, and I want to make sure that we stop that before we open the door to that. So in opposition.
Representative Garrett.
Reservations, please. Thank you.
So ordered. Representative Takanuchi.
Same request.
So ordered. Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Second time.
Second time. In opposition still. Just want to say that as someone who was raised in public housing and being surrounded by addicts, I can confirm that cannabis is not a harmful, a not harmful substance. It is indeed harmful. I think all the addicts that I grew up around have told me that they all first started with a puff. And this is sending the wrong message to Hawaii's keiki. It's not good for society. No vote.
Representative Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In support.
Please proceed.
May I adopt the words of the chair of JHA as if they were my own?
So ordered.
I think that we have to go back to the history of the prohibition on cannabis to understand where we are today. And if we look at the history of cannabis, it was prohibited because of other corporations having similar products to hemp, for example, like nylon, that then competed with the hemp products that were being created by this plant. And that drove a lot of advocacy to ban hemp as well as cannabis to stop the production of these types of products. But also, it was a campaign that was very racist towards immigrants as well as African Americans who were using cannabis at the time as a way to be able to stoke fear into the public's perception relating to cannabis. And that leads us to the federal prohibition of cannabis, which was driven by profits of other corporations. But then we also have to discuss the prohibition that was led by Big Pharma, which cannabis provides a lot of relief for different issues that people face on a day-to-day basis, such including as headaches. And if we're talking about drugs, let's not forget about all of the over-the-counter drugs that you can provide right now at any long CVS that you go to, such as Tylenol, NyQuil, and other forms of over-the-counter medicines. And Mr. Speaker, if you take too much of these medications, you potentially could die. I have never heard of anyone using too much cannabis where they end up dead. I could not find any statistics relating to that. And so with this decriminalization, I think that we can also take away the enforcement issues that we're facing at HPD with going after all of these other crimes. If we take cannabis off of that list, they can focus on the hardcore drugs, which we know for a fact has ruined our communities, such as meth and fentanyl and other heroin drugs that we know exist right now. But I also would like to mention that with the legalization of cannabis, if we actually move on it, that we can really provide safeguards to a lot of the issues that have been shared by my colleagues. Right now, we don't have those safeguards in place because it's a black market and people are purchasing it from the street dealers. We really should have the legalization discussion later on, hopefully, to really talk about how we can protect our communities. How can we put more oversight in this area? And I don't think that we've done that yet. But I would like to just end off by saying that we know what exists out there in the community. We're turning a blind eye to it right now, given this decriminalization bill and not being able to have the legal means to go and actually purchase these type of medical products from legal stores. And the biggest part about it is that as a consumer, if you're a consumer, you don't have any safeguards right now because you don't know what you're purchasing off of the streets. By having the legal means, you will know exactly what you're purchasing. And I think that's something we should be looking forward to, given that over 24 states have already passed legalization. With that, Mr. Speaker, I end my comments. Mahalo.
Okay, members, this bill will be coming up for a third reading vote. So is there further discussion or
I would hope there would be
written
a
comments?
fourth reading.
Representative
sir.
Ward,
I would
second time.
I would prefer a fourth reading. Mr. Speaker, how many times I'm against this? Mr. Speaker, the reality is, even if, and look, I voted for medical marijuana. It's great, medicinal, it's helping a lot of people survive. But the reality is 80% of that market is going to the black market. They're not going to the dispensaries. That's why the dispensaries are saying, hey, we're not making any money. So the fact that we're going to control the black market is a fairy tale. It's going to proliferate, which again, unless we're blind or deaf, we cannot see what happened in Colorado, where the Chinese and the cartels came in and the black market is gangbusters. California, the same way. Why would people refuse to come to Hawaii to open up a black market? Doesn't make sense, Mr. Speaker. The point is, this stuff is going in a direction which, if we let this bill out to promote it, versus if we vote against it, we inhibit it. Everybody's saying, well, we should promote it. Who votes for this? Should we be promoting more consumption of marijuana? When in effect, it's available anytime, anywhere, by anybody. I'm actually saddened to think that the gateway argument is still moot. If you look at the science of it, even the history of the medical, the drug issue, why did we become the meth capital of the nation? Because marijuana prices went up, meth prices were cheap, you could get the same high for less amount of money.
Point of order, Mr.
Quinlan,
Speaker.
please state your point.
Remember, if you disagree, you cannot do point of order.
Representative Quinlan, please state your point.
Hold on, Representative. I'm trying to get this out. It is irresponsible to conflate the high you get from marijuana with the high you get from methamphetamines. They are not in the same world. They do not have nearly the same effects on brain chemistry. There is a huge body of literature out there that is very clear on the differences between crystal methamphetamine and marijuana.
Representative Ward, please confine your remarks to the measure
Speaker,
before us.
my point was it was a market variable. It wasn't anything to do with this biological metal stuff. It was a market factor. It was too expensive for marijuana, and meth gave you the same high cheaper. That's what I said. That's what I meant. But my point of continuing this discussion is, if it's not a gateway, then there wouldn't have been as much marijuana addiction, of which particularly UK science has proven that this is clearly a gateway. Unfortunately, it's still kind of a matter of judging, well, you interpret the science to be yes, the science to be no. But we have some very obvious examples for us, facing us right in the face, and we're not looking at it. We're either blind or deaf. What happened in Colorado? What happened in California? And what is going on with the Oregonians who are saying, oh my God, we allowed mushrooms and anything that gets you high to be legal. And they're saying, well, maybe that's not the best thing for our society, not the best things for our youth, not the best things for our people. If we want to protect the people of Hawaii, Mr. Speaker, we should not be promoting this with a bill, but we should be inhibiting it. Let it go. It's already legal. It's already available. Let us just leave it as it is and not promoting it. In many ways, when we did medical marijuana, we said that's the full stop, and we will not go further than that. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, this is not a good bill. Thank you.
Members, before we take the voice vote, are there any written comments?
Speaker.
Representative Capella.
Speaker.
Representative Capella.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In strong support.
Please proceed.
I first would like to adopt the words of the chair of the Judiciary Committee into the journal as if they were my
So
own.
ordered.
And then another brief comment. Our current threshold that is decriminalized for possession is 3 grams. And that continues to result in hundreds of individuals being arrested in Hawaii every single year and facing possible jail time for simple possession of cannabis. Once again, simple possession of a plant. Our cannabis decriminalization law is the lowest amount of all decriminalization and legalization laws in the US. Most laws apply to at least an ounce. Removing criminal penalties for certain cannabis offenses will keep people out of jail and save taxpayer dollars. We currently spend over $250 per day, that's over $90,000 per year, to incarcerate a single adult. Approximately 39% of incarcerated detainees are Hawaiian, according to a comprehensive study by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And that number is even worse for Hawaiian women, who comprise 44% of the state's female inmate population. Jailing people for smoking a plant is what destroys lives. Keeping people in jail, continuing to detain them, is what destroys families. I think that this is a small step when we consider a community of care and when we consider taking a drug and a medicine such as cannabis and ensuring that we actually move towards reforming our cannabis laws to be much more justice-oriented and restorative for our communities. So that's why I'm in support.
Representative Woodson.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Matsuyoshi. Second.
Still in opposition, Mr.
Please
Speaker.
proceed.
Just briefly, I wanted to emphasize the point made by the shorter representative from Kaneohe, that there are no safeguards on this bill, unlike the recreational marijuana bill. What we have here is normalization without any education involved. Also, as Vice Chair of Judiciary, when I was formerly Vice Chair of Judiciary, we actually asked the Judiciary how many people are currently in jail just for simple possession of marijuana, and the numbers, I think, were under 10 people. I mean, there's almost no one in jail just for simple possession. It's usually simple possession along with other crimes. Thank you.
Representative Gates, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Permission to insert written comments?
Please.
And just a quick comment. As we mentioned, incarceration of our Native Hawaiian people, I definitely believe that Operation Green Harvest, when Hawaii took a stance to go after anyone using or growing cannabis, the Attorney General acknowledges that the Green Harvest has a direct correlation to Hawaii's meth epidemic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further discussion before we take the voice vote?
Speaker, request for written comments, please.
So ordered. Okay, members, we'll take a voice vote on all these measures. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. Members are on page 12. We have 2 short form bills. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report numbers 267-24 and 268-24 as listed on page 12, and that the accompanying House bills as amended be recommitted to their designated committees.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Is there any discussion on these short form bills? First, SCR 267. 268. If If not, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. Members are on item 6. This third reading, we have a motion to suspend the rules. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules of the House in order to consider a certain House bill for third reading by consent calendar.
Representative Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. For the motion to pass third reading, Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House Bill number 2520, as listed on page 12, pass third reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Members, any discussion on HB 2520? Any discussion? If not, we'll take the vote. Representative Morikawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the measure before us, all majority members vote aye.
Representative Garcia.
On the measure before us, all minority members vote aye with the exception of Souza.
All right, members, have all votes been cast? If so, said House bill passes third reading. We're on page 13. A final reading measure for the motion to suspend the rules. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules of the House in order to consider a certain House bill for final reading by consent calendar.
Representative Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. For the motion to pass final reading, Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move that House Bill number 129, as listed on page 13, pass final reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? If not, we'll take the vote. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, on the measure before us, all majority members vote aye.
Representative Garcia.
On the measure before us, all minority members vote aye.
All right, members, have all votes been cast? If so, said House bill passes final reading. We're on item 8. Mr. Clerk, are there any resolutions for action?
Mr. Speaker, there are no resolutions for action. May all others be referred to print.
So ordered. Members, item 9, are there any announcements? Okay, if not, for the motion to adjourn, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow.
Representative Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.